over it. No, let that thing go. Your body's trying to get rid of something. Let it. Stick your tongue out next time. See how that goes. It's funny. Like when you sneeze, go and see what happens. It's pretty funny. Well, don't bite it. Okay. All right. This is not our first visit of something called a corporation. Does anyone recall the previous time that we visited this idea of a corporation? When did we last talk about corporations? Yes.
Like companies owning colonies.
Very good. When companies owned colonies. So some of the original 13 colonies were corporate-run colonies. What were they called? What they called proprietary colonies?
Yeah.
I think that's right. Okay. Same guy, Dracula. That's him. That's Roger Taney. Only now it's Justice Robert Taney. Last time we met Dracula here, he was the Secretary of the Treasury under Andrew Jackson. Now he's a judge on the Supreme Court, and he rules in an important case here called the Charles River Bridge case. And we're not going to get really into the contract so much as the outcome, which I'll let you jot down here. It says contracts could be broken to benefit the general welfare. Rights of community outweigh corporate rights. So this deserves a bit of splaining, and so I will happily splain. What's the happen to stuff? What's the happen to stuff? Are you, maybe you are, maybe you're not. Are you aware at all what is going on in St. Paul with the trash collection?
I don't even know what's happening in this school.
So that would be a no, that you are not aware of what's happening in St. Paul with trash collection. Okay, well, the city of St. Paul has a contract with a garbage collection company. That means that if you live in St. Paul, that's your garbage collection. That's it. And there are some people that say, well, why allow the city to dictate who collects my garbage? Why can't I create a private contract with a garbage collector on my own and allow competition to drive down prices and drive up quality if you let another garbage collection company in and to compete, and then let homeowners decide on their own which garbage collection company to hire? They will compete with each other, which will probably lower prices, because to entice you to break from your current contract with the garbage company, the company could say, well, we'll offer you at half the price or something like that. And so allow competition. Okay. And right now the city of St. Paul says, nope, we're doing it for the entire city of St. Paul. The contract is with the city. If you live in the city, too bad, that's it. Okay. My question to you is, let's pretend that the residents of St. Paul continually are unhappy with the service of the garbage collection company, but there's a contract. The contract is signed with St. Paul through for a full year. But the service is cruddy. Listen. Could St. Paul say, your service sucks, and we break the contract? And the answer is yes. Yes, a city, a public institution has the right to break a contract if it's in the public's best interest to do so. So that would be a case where the city of St. Paul could say, yeah, we're going to break a contract. I'll give you another one. Any of you have ever heard of something called eminent domain? Eminent domain, does that ring a bell?
I did a presentation on it in sociology.
What is eminent domain?
It's like when the government's like, hey, we need this land for this. Can you please have it? We will pay you.
Very good. So let's say that your house is exactly where the state of Wisconsin wants to build a new highway. It's going right over your house. But you purchased that land. You have signed a contract. That's your land. Can the state of Wisconsin void your contract? And the answer is yes, they can. if they can prove that it is in the public's interest that that road goes right over where your house is, the state of Wisconsin has the right to buy your land, even if you don't want to sell it. Too bad. They'll give you fair market value, but they can take your land. They can void your contract if it is in the public's best interest to do so. Okay. In other words, the rights of the community outweigh private rights. Okay, thanks to this decision. Right. I think I've told some of you this, but I went to school in Milwaukee, and I lived in McCormick Hall, which was, they called it the beer can because it basically looks like that. And I was on the 12th floor, right? It was really fun when the elevators weren't working. As if to say that wasn't fun at all, because I had to walk down 12 flights of stairs. But anyway, but remove 1/4 of it, right? So from, I'm not going to spill here, but take out 1/4 of it, right? All the way down. That's what McCormick Hall looked like. It was all the way around, except they cut out 1/4 of it and it's gone, right? It's like a really tall piece of pie. You understand? Yeah. And the reason it looks like that, it was supposed to be all the way around, but the reason is because when they designed the hall, there was this woman that lived in a house on the corner, and they said, eminent domain, we're going to buy your house. And she said, no, instead of making it this tall all the way around, just make it this tall 3/4 of the way around. And the university said, that's dumb. They went to court, and a judge agreed with her. She won. So there's this cute little house, and there's a dorm around it. Yeah, it's not there anymore, but because eventually she sold it, and now it's like a little cute little park. But anyway, that's the idea. Okay. Any questions here? Let's rock. Okay, now we're looking at something called the Second Great Awakening. What do you now know?
There was a first
There
grade.
was a First Great Awakening. Okay, very good. We seem to have skipped that part of the First Great Awakening. But one day, probably around the 1800s, everyone awoke, and it was awesome. They all woke up. It was beautiful. A slight breeze. The sun was out. By the way, did anyone see the sunrise this morning? Mm-hmm. Wow, that was pretty. It was really pretty. Anyway, that's what happened. No, okay, that's not true. Something else. All right, so let's take a look here at this picture, and we see that there's this crowd, and it's incredibly colorful clothing, and then there's some guy, and he looks like he's angry, and he's talking, and he's in a box of some sort, and there look to be tents behind it. What the crap is going on here? Those of you who've taken sociology, you know, and those of you who haven't taken it, what the crap are you waiting for?
It's so fun.
Okay. Part of our study is on religion in America, or part of our study is on, I have to be careful saying this word, sects. We study sects. You can see how I could get in trouble with that. The United States is an incubator of cults and sects. And that's because we are a free nation. So start your own religion. Start your own religion worshiping that poster. Almighty poster, thank you for granting us all life. And then convince other people that that poster is what's causing everything to happen, and have Wednesday night meetings worshiping that poster. Go ahead. You're weird, but in America, as many of you know, you have the right to be weird. Go ahead. Well, that's what happened in America. So remember what happened in 1828? Who got to vote in 1828? Poor people. That's right. You no longer had to own property. And so now these poor people get to vote for who they want to be president. Well, part of the reason you vote for person A over person B is you go listen to person A and you hear what that person has to say and you think, and then you go listen to person B and you think, you listen to both of them and you choose person A over person B because you think person A's message is better. Okay? Well, imagine religion that way. Imagine people setting up what are called tent revivals. They still happen, by the way. They go from town to town and they set up temporary churches outside. And this person sings the praises of the Lord or whatever. right? He's preaching. And they're like, ah! Yeah, that was pretty good. Next week, let's go listen to Farmer Joe and his country revival. So they go listen to Country Joe speaking about the glory of the Lord. Ah! Yeah, let's go listen to Matt next week. And they go and they choose who to listen to for the religious message. Okay, and this happened. So there was this religious explosion that happened in the 1830s, 40s, because people said, gee, if we can listen to politicians, why can't we listen to our own religious leaders? There was this connection. Yes, dear. And what this says is that when they listened to these people and about how society can be perfect, what's that called again? When you create a perfect society, create a utopian society, people started listening to it and saying, gee, that's right, we can do it. We can improve prisons. Prisons used to be that place where you send people so they'd rot. Today, I don't know, anyone been to prison lately? Anyone been sentenced to prison?
Yeah,
Nobody in here? Prison? Okay.
Constantly.
Today, you can get your college degree in prison, right? It's not a place for you to go to rot. It's a place for you to get fixed, right? The term penitentiary starts. A penitentiary is where you go, yes, to pay your dues to society for what you've done, but also to improve yourself. That idea was started at this time. Let's send people away and help them. Okay. Other ideas that were started. What's temperance? What's temperance? Any idea?
Something that's
The temperance movement. Anyone idea? I'm not going to tell you. All right. Well, let's figure that out. All right. So something called temperance movement was started at this time. Okay. The drive to make women more involved in public life. Hey, maybe we should even grant them, I know it's crazy, the right to vote. Maybe we'll have a woman be president someday. Don't be ridiculous. By the way, I'm talking at the time. Okay. So chill. So that was started at this time. What's abolitionism? What's that? Bad. Slavery bad. Okay. Hey, remember now who got to vote at this time? What were the qualifications to vote? You had to be white,
And male.
male, old enough. Okay. No longer owner of property, but you still has three things. Are those things true today? Do you have to be male?
No.
Do you have to be white?
No.
Do you have to be old enough?
Yeah.
That part's true, which means that something changed from here to now, right? They changed the male thing and they changed the white thing. Well, when did that start? Right here, right? This drive to more involvement with democracy starts at this time. By the way, did anyone figure out what temperance is?
Not drinking.
Alcohol, bad. The temperance movement. Let's fix society. See that? Let's fix exactly. These are the same people who went to listen to these things said we can't let the Irish and the Germans in. We want a perfect society. You want a bunch of drunken Irish? You want a bunch of drunken Germans? No. It's the same people that said let's stop drinking are the same people said let's restrict immigration. Same people. Okay. Any questions there? Last slide. How about that? Last slide for today. So this slide has everything to do with the previous slide. So the Second Great Awakening was this religious event where people started listening to all sorts of sect leaders, but those sect leaders suggested that you could improve society. And here are the results. Here are the results of that religious event. Did you know, this is kind of a fun sign that exists in Boston. Did you know that there were these things called debtor prisons? Anyone ever heard of them? You could be thrown in jail until you paid off your debt. Now think of the very good. How were you supposed to pay it off? In jail? Right. Okay. So the ending of that, right? the abolishing of debtor prisons, right? It was illogical. How are you supposed to pay it off? Okay, debtor prisons were eliminated. Okay, anyone know what we're looking at there? That's a pleasant sight. Well, what's happening to this poor fella? Oh, being crucified. Wow, that's dark. Not quite there.
He's in the stuff.
He's in the stockade. That's right. What does that mean?
Being locked up in the big.
Yeah, his head and arms are being stuck through basically a wooden plank with 3 holes in it. And there you sat for hours and hours, and it was painful. Anyone know what's happening to this guy? He's getting whooped. That guy's about to whoop him on the back. Okay. Can this happen today? No, that's called corporal punishment. Okay, thank you. I can also stab you with scissors. Okay, it's not legal anymore. Physical punishment is now illegal and has been deemed cruel and unusual. Now, does anyone know the constitutional reference?
Cruel and unusual punishment.
That's right. You cannot have cruel or unusual punishments. You cannot be physically put in pain in the United States. That is, it's illegal. It's unconstitutional to be administered pain. No more whoopings, no more stockades. It hurts. Now, some of you in here might say, but what about execution? Isn't that cruel? And the Supreme Court has said, nope, that's not cruel. Execution is not cruel as long as it is not painful. If it's painful, you got to stop, right? That's why the electric chair was ended as a form of execution. It's not that the electric chair didn't end your life. It did, but you usually fried a bit before you finally kicked out there. Also, they're supposed to shave your head and get your head nice and wet, and sometimes the executioner would forget, so your head's on fire, and that hurts. It hurts.
What are the other types?
Of execution?
Isn't
Right now, the only legal method of execution is lethal injection. That's it. They inject you with a 3-ingredient cocktail. It's called the Kentucky cocktail.
So like when you put a dog down and you like
Is that what they use?
Right.
It's like the same thing.
It's similar.
Do you die like right away? Or does it take like
No, the first one puts you night-night. I mean, sleepy night-night. Not we're putting our dog to sleep night-night. I mean, close your eyes and go to sleep and have dreams night-night. The second one numbs you, and the third one stops your heart. So it's 3 ingredients, and it's injected
It's
one at a
my
time.
job.
The problem with lethal injection is, of course, how do you know that the person's actually asleep and numb before you inject the third one? I mean, how do you know?
There's no way
It's
to-
rather hard to prove that it is not painful. It's also proved it's hard to prove it's painful. Anyway, no more cruel punishments, physical pain, no more. And prisons were changed from places where you rot to places where you get fixed. You get an education. You could make yourself a better person. Okay. Our third major area of change were, they used to be called insane asylums. These were basically prisons, and you were basically locked away. Again, now the idea is these people need to be treated. They need to be helped. These are places where the addicted would go, and you'd just be locked away. Where today, many of these things are recognized as it's not your fault that you have this addiction or whatever it is. You need help. You need counseling. You need maybe a little bit of drugs. Many people that today are on medication 150 years ago would have found themselves in these places. Yep.
Didn't like a lot of like illegal experimentation go on?
Oh, yeah. Okay, and then finally, the temperance movement. Again, this is the alcohol ban movement. It was seen as a moral movement. In other words, drinking alcohol was immoral. And you're probably Irish or German, as an example. Okay, so all sorts of alcohol is included in the temperance movement, and the suggestion is that states need to make the manufacture, distribution, sale of alcohol more difficult. And you can see where this leads, right? you can see the ultimate conclusion of this would be the 18th Amendment, banning the manufacture, distribution, and sale nationwide. The United States became a dry nation. By the way, there are still some counties in the South that are dry. And dry means no alcohol. In fact, I think this is correct. The county where Jack Daniels is made is a dry county. They make it, but they ship it up. Isn't that crazy?
Is it like illegal to have it there? Like, you can
Something
buy
like that,
it?
yeah.
Weird.
I think that's right. It's something ironic that one of those major whiskey distributors is a dry county. That's it. No more notes. Yay. So this is my next, we have 3 goals today. So my next goal, and we can take a little bit of a break here. So in 2 minutes, you will find the other people that read the same page as you with the Colchin article, right? I believe I had you numbered 1 through 9. Is that right? All right, let's just see here. Will you now raise your hand if you were a 1? No way. All right, well, Jack, good luck, man. I'll say it. Who was a 2? How's this possible?
I was a 2.
Oh, all right. 2s, there's 3 of you. Okay. Who was a 3? 2 of you. This does not add up. Well, what'd you read? The Colchin article on slavery.
Oh, I wasn't here then.
You have it?
Yeah, wait. Yeah,
I have plenty of extras.
I don't know if you were here.
Give it.
I have one, but I left before I got it. I printed my own off. Had it made.
Okay, so I've identified 1s, 2s, 3s. How many? 4s? Okay, we have a. Oh, we have a bunch. Great, we have a bunch of 4s. 5s. At least 2 5s. 6s. Good luck, man. 7s. Nobody's a 7. 8s. Okay, there's at least 2 of you, and 9s, I think, is the final one. Okay, so again, we'll take a break here. We'll resume in a couple minutes, but 1, Jack, you'll sit there. 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s, 6s, 7, 8s, 9s, right? 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s, 6s, 7s, 8s, 9s, and await further instructions. Okay, but so we'll resume when the big hand's on the 4.
No, we don't have
And go ahead and circle the wagons, move the desks so that you're up.
Oh, yeah. Because he pointed like right. Okay.
Yeah, I'm in 2.
Gonna be honest, haven't read it, but I will now.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Can we? Katie, can I move this? I'm sure.
Oh, wait, that's not. It's still a different chair.
Okay, so let's see if we did this right. Who's a 1? Ben, you're a 1 now. Who's a 2? 3s, right there. 4s. That's a weird looking group. Oh my God, there's a set here. 5s. Okay, 6s. You guys, 7s. 7. I'll be a 7. 8s. 9s. Okay. Ridley, pick a spot and sit. In a desk.
I stole it.
There's a desk, and there's a desk, and there's a desk, and there's a desk. Okay. So your job is to, we don't have to master this. I just want to see what you can do. Again, this reading that you were assigned, this is considered freshman level college reading. You should be able to read this article and glean from it meaning. Okay. What I want is just 2 things. 1, I want Colchin's conclusion about one of the topics. What does he have to say about one of the topics? And the topics, I wrote them all down. Okay, we sort of listed them, and I listened to you, and I went and talked to Lindy, and so let's all write down what I'm about to say. Here are your topics that we are going to be able to choose from. Okay, so this is according to the list you generated for Mr. Lindenberg. Okay, topic number 1 is slave autonomy. Slave autonomy. In other words, how much control did slaves have over their own lives? Did slave owners try and control every aspect of their life, or did they attempt to have mastery over their own lives? Were they master of their own domain? Topic number 2 is punishment. What does Colchin have to say about the methods of punishment? Why they punished? Was it a way to manipulate slave behavior? Was it a way for the slave owner to say, I'm the one in control here? Methods, motivation. Slave topic number 3 is family. What did Colchin have to say about family? Why did slave owners separate biological children from their parents? Why did they do that? Topic number 4 is, we'll call it slave life. Slave life. Any sense of community, music, culture? Southern society, the next one would be Southern society versus other slavery in other countries. Like comparing, which was worse. Is Southern slavery considered worse than Haitian slavery, Brazilian slavery? And then finally, slave resistance. How did slaves resist? Did they run away? Did they openly rebel? Did they suddenly become incredibly lazy? Okay, so obviously the first thing you need to do is figure out, based on the page that you had, which topic applies. Well, you're not in your own group. You're in one of 9 groups.
No, there wasn't a group 7. So
Oh, you're group 7.
Group 7.
Okay, awesome. Okay, great. So which topic applies to your page? And then can you highlight a quote or maybe 2 which seems to address your topic? Okay. And again, don't worry about what if this is wrong. So what if it's wrong? It's okay. Go ahead. Oh yeah.
What's wrong with that one?
Oh, that's the intro. Yeah, no, you didn't. We're not looking at the intro. We're done with the intro. We're now looking at the meat. I'll check back at 10:30.
I don't have it.
I one of it's like
Yeah.
I did this.
Freedoms, like opportunities to develop community, but like more than anything else, it was like just like you're a slave, not a slave, like almost like
What about this?
so.
Slave owners. Yep. You want an extra? Yep. I really.
Yeah, I don't think this one really talks a lot about slavery. They talk about like, so this whole first section is like about like, like tales and like
See, I wrote down
whatever about
page
like
one.
the here, like how they use that and
Masters saw their slaves not just as their laborers, but also as their
carries on after masters.
inferior members of their extended households, whom they expect to work in obedience, but to whom they owe guidance and protection. So
Yeah, that makes.
they did recognize them as people, but their people as in
Don't
come along.
Oh,
We-
yeah, it's slaves.
Yeah.
You underline that?
Points for like all seasons. Maybe it's like not like family punishment for the rest.
Oh, I looked it up actually. It's leadership and dominance. It's dominance over others. Social dominance.
Okay, where was it?
Using their masters things against them and how even though we are owned by them, we are not their property. I think it's kind of what they're saying. Because there's slavery is best to make you wretched, but along with memories and theory.
I found a couple other columns that I thought were pretty good. It says page 1, second column. Something, the pervasive presence of white Southerners shaping everyday lives of the slaves. Second column.
I see, like, we're so used to it.
There it is, yep. The pervasive presence of white Southerners shaping everyday lives of the slaves. In other words, that slave owners try to destroy the idea of slave autonomy. You're my people, I control every aspect of your life at that moment. And constant presence was an attempt to shape everyday life.
I was like, I had it to do list.
Okay, so that's our conclusion, is that Holchin argues that slave owners attempted to eliminate any idea of slave independence by controlling the entire life.
Even if you got
Now, did it always work? No, but there wasn't. Awesome.
I don't think it's as heavy as you think. It's just
You got it. Wherever. But I think this is the idea. So I'm gonna let you shine a little bit. So I'm gonna let you share with everyone conclusion. Holchin argues that slave owners try to control all aspects of slave life. And then
Have you ever read The Night Circus?
Well, what I was thinking.
It also said, that men slaves, when he was saying how conscious of their life, extended on beyond.
Did you say have you ever read The Night Circus?
I can say that. I'm reading it right now. I don't know, but I can see the vibe. It's not the same, really. No, actually, no, about it, they're not really similar. This one's legitimately about like how and then these like some people are both to get our challenges that we do have
slave owner and slave. And just, I wrote down that, try to control the labor, spiritual life, social life, and families, lacks the permission to get married, forbade off-plantation marriages, and punish sexual infidelity. You know what that all is?
So like, I understand. I don't know, but I keep seeing
So it's right there.
and how they leave
Just the whole story of James Henry Hammond, that, he talks about how he tried to control everything. Perfect. That's great. Okay, in order to accomplish my third goal here, I'm going to cut this just a little bit short. And I'm going to demonstrate what I'm going to be looking for, mostly not next week, because next week something else is going on here. I don't know. But after that, we're going to really start attacking this in earnest, and this is how it's going to go. So, group one here was me and him. I drafted him into the mix here. Okay, so I'm going to say, all right, Jack, what was the conclusion? What was the topic that mostly was addressed on this page? That's one. Number two, what is your conclusion about what Colchin has to say about that topic? And then three, can you prove it with document evidence? Is there any good quote that really exemplifies Colchin's point of view? And then number four, would we be blessed if there was any historical evidence that Colchin uses? So again, 4 questions. What's the topic? What is Colchin's argument about that topic? Do you have any document evidence to prove that that was Colchin's topic? Is there any historical evidence that proves that Colchin's claim has some validity? By the way, before I continue, does that sound familiar? It sure should. I'm saying that by May, you will be so sick of me saying the same things again and again. Make a claim, you prove it with document evidence, and then you prove it with historical evidence. You'll be sick of it. You want to kill me. You'll want to kill me. Out of love, by the way. Okay, so let's give this a shot with just this, and then we'll shift gears here. So, Jack, what was the topic addressed on page 1? Okay, so it's slave autonomy. Just so you know, you will ultimately choose, of the 6 that we have, you will ultimately choose 3. You will have to pick 3. Can you now picture? Can you start to picture what this paper is going to look like? How many paragraphs will it be? 5. It'll be 5. And if you don't know why don't you know why? Intro, conclusion, meet paragraph 1, meet paragraph 2, meet paragraph 3. Okay, start to see. All right, so it is slave autonomy. What is Colchin's conclusion?
You're trying to end slave autonomy by treating the slaves with respect.
Okay, very good. So Colchin argues that slave owners tried to destroy any idea of slave autonomy. Right? I mean, I imagine what you're doing is you're picturing a slave life that they spend the day picking the cotton in the fields, and then the sun goes down. Okay, slaves, now you're on your own. And Colchin's saying, nope, the slave owner wasn't done. They controlled they're like Woody in Toy Story 1. They control everything. And Sid's like, ah! All right, Jack, prove it. Prove that Colchin makes this argument. Tell us where to go.
First column, second paragraph. When the masters saw their slaves not just as their laborers, but also as their people, inferior members of their extended households from whom they expected work and obedience, but to whom they owed guidance and protection.
Everyone find that? First column, second paragraph, probably about 10 lines down. The first word on the line is the word lives, period. Next sentence. Masters saw their slaves not just as their laborers, but also as their people. And you might read that so far and think, well, that's nice. You're my people. That sounds great. Keep reading. Inferior members of their extended households from whom they expected work and obedience, but to whom they owed guidance and protection. You're my little dog. Think of a dog. Is a dog part of your family? Uh-huh. But it's a dog. It needs your protection, but it's a dog. That slave is a dog. Okay? Is there another quote you might use, Jack?
Yes. The pervasive presence of white Southerners shaped the everyday lives of their slaves.
Where is that quote?
Second column, first paragraph. Last.
You hear that? Second column, first full paragraph, very last sentence. The pervasive presence of white Southerners shaped the everyday lives of the slaves. There was no slave autonomy. Or at least there was no intention to have slave autonomy. Means independence, freedom. Nope. Thinking is that slave owners controlled every aspect of slave lives, tried to eliminate any idea of autonomy, freedom, independence. We have two quotes that basically make the same argument. Basically, it's which one do you prefer, I guess. Now, Jack, did we find any actual historical evidence? Does Colchin have an example of this that he talks about?
Yeah. James Henry Hammond in the second paragraph.
Okay. Very good. So in the second column, Mr. Colchin talks about this guy named James Henry Hammond. Find his name. Second full paragraph, 3 lines down, James Henry Hammond. And he tells this story. He tells the story of this slave owner named James Henry Hammond. And if you read about it, you'll realize that James Henry Hammond controlled everything. He controlled who they could marry. If you were a slave and you were in love, guess you had to ask for permission to get married? James Henry Hammond. He controlled their spiritual lives. He would preach to them on Sundays. He had, once in a while, he'd have dances. He ran it. He would not allow any sort of off-plantation marriage. He controlled everything. He's like Woody. Okay, there is a piece of historical evidence. Right? So we've got the claim, we've got a piece of document evidence, and now we have an example that proves Colchin's claim appears to have some validity. So now I'm going to remind you, I'm going to just give you another minute or two here. Look at, again, your own page. Could you do what Jack just did? Could you do it? It is quite possible, by the way, that your one page has multiple topics. That's entirely possible. So we'll resume this. Maybe we'll do another one Monday. Okay. News for you. I got a little bit of news about next week's schedule. It looks like if you want, you could actually start attacking Mr. Essay and or objective test Tuesday. Start it Tuesday. Some of you came up to me and said you're going to be missing a day of school or something for AP Psych or not AP Psych, CIS Psych. Is that affecting anyone here? Okay. And so I sort of looked and we should be okay. So I'm telling you that the exam starts Tuesday. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and if you need it, Friday, I guess. I'm giving you 4 days. 4 days. Okay? Anybody? Is it another 10 minutes? Okay. That's enough of that. We can shift gears. Oh, this class is over in 5 minutes. That's okay. Yeah, you can go back to your original spots. Thank you.
After we do all this, then we'll have all of our.
I'm just going to, there's one thing left to do. Okay. And that is all I'm going to do is talk you through how your first paragraph should have looked. Just going to talk you through it.
Are you gonna turn or?
Yeah. I didn't even look at them, but do you want me to return them?
Yes. Can we just like wait to turn it?
I haven't even looked at it yet.
Okay.
Weren't they due today?
No.
Oh, your intro wasn't due today?
Tuesday.
Tuesday? Oh, I said the whole thing's due Tuesday. What's the point? You're starting your essay Tuesday.
Or just don't have it.
Wait, are we gonna talk about?
I don't know what to do. Oh, thesis. Oh, okay, great. All right. I did say thesis due today. Okay, let's take a look at your thesis. Your thesis, which apparently was due today. By the way, if you didn't do it, you'll live. It'll be all right. These arbitrary due dates for these practice formative paragraphs and stuff, it's just really an arbitrary deadline for you so that come Tuesday, you're ready. That's all it is. I would be pretty, God, I'm still recording. I almost said something I shouldn't have. It'd be pretty bad of me to dock you points and then you end up writing a really good essay Tuesday. I mean, it's dumb. All right. Do you have access to your own thesis? Because it should sound a something like this. It should sound a something like this. Well, it appears, blah, 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 comma, in truth, blah, 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 period. It should sound something like that. Okay, now let's just have a little 1, 2, 3, 4 list checklist. These 4 things need to be in there somewhere. Do you have the words Democratic Republicans? Should be in there. Do you have the word Federalists or Federalist Party? Should be in there. Do you have your issue? The one issue should be in there. And then, is there a sense that you agree with one and disagree with the other? That is a successful thesis. Let me just give you an example. Okay, let's just take taxes. Okay, and let's just pretend I agree with the Federalist position on taxes. Okay, it would go something like this. While it might appear that the Democratic Republicans belief, the Democratic Republicans apostrophe belief that taxes were dangerous because they often would lead to violence, comma, in truth, the Federalist position that taxes were beneficial because they provided necessary services is the better argument. Period. There, you see? It's got a dependent clause, comma, independent clause. I've got both parties, I've got the issue, and I've rendered judgment. That's what yours should ballpark sound like. Nope. We can talk about conclusion Monday, I guess. Let's do that. Let's talk about conclusion Monday. Okay. I'm not assigning you the conclusion. I'm just saying let's talk about the conclusion. Okay. Conclusion is contextualization, roadmap reiteration, thesis restatement. Okay. So maybe over the weekend, if you have time, just start thinking about what's your big idea. How does this fit into the painting of American history? How does this little story fit? Sure. As long as you finish that thought in your fourth paragraph. Awesome.
Literally have everything in this essay except for civilization.
Don't beat yourself up over contextual